So, picture this. You've got a 24-year-old guy sitting completely alone, and he is just deep in despair. He feels totally unappreciated, emotionally drained, and honestly, he's just desperate for even a tiny scrap of affection or praise from the world around him. But then, out of nowhere, he experiences this intense spiritual phenomenon. A message comes through, and it tells him to do the exact opposite of what he actually wants. Instead of taking love, he's commanded to give it. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into the really fascinating source material behind a profound 1989 lecture from Happy Science, known as the Developmental Stages of Love Theory. It's this incredibly systematic approach to human connection that fundamentally overturns how we usually think about love and relationships.
All right, let's just jump right in and map out this framework. We're going to cover Section 1, the core revelation. Then Section 2, the love balance sheet. Section 3, loving others. Section 4, leading others. And finally, Section 5, the state of forgiveness.
Section 1, the core revelation.
To really grasp this theory, we have to go back to its origin. Back in 1980, that desperate 24-year-old guy we just talked about suddenly experienced this phenomenon of automatic writing. His hand literally moved on its own, writing out a message that crystallized into one highly specific command: love others, let others live, and forgive others. I mean, think about how jarring that must have been. Instead of getting a comforting message about how to finally get all the praise he was so desperately craving, he gets hit with this strict, uncompromising directive on how to give.
Section 2, the love balance sheet. This sudden directive forces a massive paradigm shift. I mean, it fundamentally changes how human relationships are measured, right? It yanks us out of this mindset of just trying to extract value from the world and drops us straight into a system of spiritual accounting. And it all boils down to one absolutely crucial question. Have you given more love than you've received? I really want you to stop and genuinely reflect on this for a second. According to the brilliantly simple analogy in our source material, this is the ultimate accounting of your soul. If you were to sit down right now and tally up every single act of kindness, every bit of support, literally every drop of love you've ever gotten from your parents, teachers, friends, and then you compared that massive pile to what you have selflessly given out, well, which way would your scales tip?
Imagine a literal balance sheet for your entire life. On one side, you've got love given. These are your spiritual assets, your positives. On the other side, you have love received. And here's the kicker. These actually act as your liabilities, your spiritual debt. The original lecture points out something kind of terrifying. For most of us, realizing we have this massive overflowing debt of received love compared to the tiny amount we've actually given out, well, it can feel like heading straight towards spiritual bankruptcy.
And that brings us to this highly relatable and honestly pretty provocative concept from the lecture: the love vampire. The philosophy argues that if your balance sheet is totally lopsided, if you're constantly taking love, demanding attention, and just craving praise without giving a single thing back, you literally become an emotional drain on society. The speaker vividly compares this state to a leech or a mosquito. You know, a creature that just extracts the lifeblood from others without producing anything of value itself. Yikes, right? It's a harsh realization for sure, but it's exactly the wake-up call needed to prompt that 180-degree shift required for real growth.
So, how do we escape the trap of being a love vampire? Well, the theory outlines a totally logical progression of growth, all based on that very first automatic writing revelation. It breaks down into 3 specific developmental stages. Step 1 is loving others. Step 2 is making the most of others, which is also translated as letting others live, or leading them. And step 3 is forgiving others. Let's break down exactly what each of these stages actually demands.
Section 3. Loving others.
This first stage requires a total 180-degree pivot away from our ego-driven natural human desire to just take love and demands that we start actively giving it. But wait, there is a very strict condition attached here. If you give love, say, I don't know, you do a huge favor for a friend or you buy them a nice gift, but you're secretly expecting praise, gratitude, or a return favor, the spiritual merit of that act drops instantly to 0. Bam! Nothing. Expecting a return completely negates the act. On the flip side, giving purely and unconditionally functions as true self-expansion. You are basically planting seeds of yourself in the hearts of others. And according to the text, doing this spiritually generates a divine light, literally a halo around the giver.
Section 4. Leading others, or making the most of others.
Now, while that first stage of simply choosing to love can be put into practice right this second stage requires a lot more time and effort to cultivate. You can't just wake up and decide to be a leader, you actually have to build the capacity for it. The philosophy breaks down this capacity to lead into 3 specific, non-negotiable qualities. First up is intelligence, and we're not just talking book smarts here. It's defined as the foresight to truly understand cause and effect. It's knowing that, hey, if I guide a person this specific way, this specific result is going to happen. Second is experience, which means learning practical, hard-won lessons from both your triumphs and your crushing failures. And third is humility. Because if you lack the knowledge or the experience for a certain situation, a true leader has to be humble enough to seek help from the people who do.
Section 5. The state of forgiveness. So, we've gone from giving love to skillfully leading others to finally reaching the absolute most difficult summit of the entire theory. And the reason this stage is the absolute hardest, it's because it demands a level of empathy that simply cannot be faked. According to the source material, you literally cannot truly forgive others without having personally experienced deep failure, heartbreak, and profound sadness yourself. Think about it. If your life has been nothing but smooth sailing and easy successes, you can't possibly embrace the suffering of someone who has stumbled. Actually, it's your own hardships that serve as the mandatory prerequisites for building this supreme, ultimate level of empathy.
To really wrap our heads around what this summit looks like, we need to contrast standard justice with what's called great forgiveness. Standard justice is what we usually rely on every day, right? It strictly divides right from wrong, good from evil, and it punishes the bad. Simple. But great forgiveness completely transcends that. It is described in the lecture as an infinite, divine compassion that just flows unconditionally from high to low. It is a state of love so massive, so all-encompassing, that it can embrace even those who fail utterly, and yes, even those who do wrong, offering them the grace and the chance to start all over again.
Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. The developmental stages of love theory shows us that literally every experience, both our soaring highest successes and our most agonizing painful failures, is just nourishment for the soul. It's all preparing us to become true vessels of love. So I want you to look at your own life right now. Is your personal balance sheet of love really ready for that ultimate stage of great forgiveness? Or are the hardships you're facing right this very moment actually the exact preparation you need to finally build your capacity for ultimate compassion? Definitely something to think about as you navigate your own relationships today.